everyone. This is another conversation, Freedom to Feel. And my guest today is Christopher Schneiders. Not sure if I got his last name correctly, but here we go. Christopher is a executive coach, personal coach as well, and therapy services provider, visiting professor at IE Business School in Madrid, author and speaker. So he's also the author of two books. I mentioned he's an author, but two books. The first one was titled How Men and Women Fit Finally Understand Your Partner with the Three Brains Theory. And then the latest one, Relationships, Which Brain is Talking? The Ultimate Guide to Happy, Healthy, and Successful Relationships. I mean, there's so many interesting topics. The three brain, the existence of them, the three brains, which I didn't know in this way. I always thought about the heart and brain connection, but I didn't
Yeah.
think about the gut. So we'll be talking about that. But I guess before all this, I want to mention that the full bio will be at the end of this video. So for now, Christopher, in your own words, who are you?
Who are yeah, who I am? That's always a good question. Who are you? And then most people in the Western world right away start sharing their job and what they do.
Yes.
And I would say I'm a passionate person who likes to make this world a little bit a better place. Has a huge passion for people, and also has a huge passion now to actually to create almost happiness, health, success. And from that, my passion is my drive to learn about it. That's why I'm an executive coach and psychotherapist, clinical hypnotherapist, a visiting professor, and all the other kind of things I have on my list, what I once studied. Because all those little chunks help me to understand us better and you better. From, okay, what is actually now stopping us from achieving what we all desire? Health, happiness, success. It sounds almost so easy. And it is, and if you just open every newspaper or something else, it's somewhere a struggle.
That's so true. How did you come to this? What inspired you to do what you do today?
Um, I would say that it's sometimes hard to pinpoint your
Yeah.
thing. And Jung always said most of the psychiatrists, psychologists, therapists are wounded healers.
Yes.
And I could say, hey, I have been bullied at secondary school, so maybe that created something like, hey, how can I create a better place? But even before that, I know from my mom, she always said, you can even not kill a fly, Christopher. Now, of course, you don't like flies, so but you will never torture them or something else. You have a huge, profound for happiness and those kind of things. You don't like to see people fight or those kind of things. You like to be a peacekeeper. So that's already something like you could almost say an mission why I'm on this earth, right? But to
Yeah.
make it really huge. And luckily, I got the gift or the talent to work on it. And so that's really I'm grateful for. And so it's different things. And in all my work, I always saw when I started studying, it was my first work, that a lot of people work for the money, but you see so much unhappiness. There's so much push. You have to achieve, 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 achieve. And just sitting down and talking with somebody, and my first role when I was, say, leading a little team of 5 people, they always said to me, Chris, you're the first person who just sits down with us and doesn't ask right away, what did you sell? But always like,
Mm,
hey, how are you doing? What's happening with you? And from there, somewhere it evolved. And for me, I thought that's normal, isn't it? But it's not. And but the the beauty of the pity is that people started to perform better when you had also a human connection. And it made me always wonder, if I can do it and it's not so difficult, why don't I see it more? And that became then really my passion from what is actually stopping us from doing so. Because I got a burnout, I got almost depression when I had a divorce when I emigrated to Australia. And I always thought, hey, it happens to me. That means I'm still missing something. I still don't know what kind of links are more. So my personal life, also what is around me, keeps me busy. Yeah, come on. I walk. I will live in Madrid, and I walk in the morning with my dog.
yeah.
And and and, and then I see people say living on the street, and I know it happens, and we see it on televisions. But still, it always gives me at least 1 second of why I live in Europe. And of course, some people maybe choose for it, but those are really a few. That's maybe 1 or 5%. The other 95% not. So what is happening here? What is happening in them, and what is happening in us that we cannot make it happen now? A huge story why it drives me.
Yeah, that's wonderful though. That's one of reflection. We talked earlier about the Buddha, right? How he became curious
Mhm.
about all these things.
Yeah,
Why, right? Asking
yeah,
questions, deep questions.
that's,
How do you define happiness these days, Christopher?
yeah. If you think about the Dalai Lama wrote a book about it, the difference between happiness and joy, and the short-term pleasure and the long-term pleasure. If I would connect it right away with my three brains, so let's make it easier.
Yeah.
Um, so joy is, say, a short moment of happiness. And it's mostly a gut brain thing. I just had a beautiful dinner. I had a glass of wine. I gave a beautiful girl a kiss, my girlfriend. I got, uh, sure, real happiness is more if you then go
Mm,
to Viktor Frankl, from the man's meaning. He says, hey, when you really found meaning in your life and you find somewhere, say, something you can contribute that's bigger than yourself or go for love. And that's actually a heart brain connection. So if you ask me, joy is gut brain pleasure. Heart brain pleasure is actually happiness. The contentment, because if you are with people you're around, or if you're, I say, or with things you love, then it doesn't matter how much money you have or how many beautiful cars you have. And so in my, it's more an heart brain connection part.
yeah. And since we already tap into the subject, God, brain, heart connection, talk to me about um, the characteristics. What are they? Like I know in your book you have that,
Yeah,
so I'd love for you to explain a little bit more
yeah.
what they are.
That is that. Say one step, and I will do it easy because not everybody knows it. It has like
Yes, yeah,
gut brain, heart brain. What did Chris drink today? Now nothing.
yes, yes,
Right, right. But in my whole quest to find out what's happening, I came aware of a book, The Second Brain, from Michael Gershon. He's a neurobiologist and spent now he's now in his 80s. He spent his whole life in researching actually the enteric part of us, everything underneath the diaphragm. And he wrote 30 years ago the book, The Second Brain, where he describes the gut, say everything underneath your diaphragm, has 500 million brain cells. And this build up like we have it here. And in that research community, so if that's true, wow. And there's memory and can make decisions. It right away explains in my therapy work why people have issues with weight loss and all those kind of things. So, and then I came aware in the same research period about heart math. That's a company who researched everything about the heart. And they led me actually to Dr. Andre Amour, who now also wrote a research document in the same time as Michael Gershman 30 years ago about the second, he called it the little brain on the heart. And I thought it also has a memory, what is researched so many times. When people have a heart transplant, almost everybody who has a heart transplant has a change of behavior, thoughts, memories, likes, and dislikes. And it can only happen if something is transplanted with the heart, memories, and all those kind of things. So when I had that insight, hey, scientifically it's proven we have a brain in the gut that can think and can act and make decisions. We have the same in our heart. It has a memory, it can decide, and we have one in between our ears. So then it makes sense it happens. And I also did somatic training for trauma work and with Peter Levine, and he writes in a book about research of Ivan Yankovic, who already wrote in the 40s about we all originate from the gut, and the heart and the head are actually built on later to manage this complex thing we are as human beings. And when I connected all those dots, I thought van, that makes actually simple sense. And I have to say, the first time I came aware of it, something like 7 years ago now, I thought, maybe I'm a fraud because I cannot happen that I now imagine this. Well, those books are already more than 30 years old.
yeah.
Somebody else also must have seen this.
It's true.
Now, 1 year later, I came aware there was a book written actually by Grant Saluku, Multiple Brains. He pitifully died just when I launched my book, so I could never speak to him. So there are
Yeah.
two people actually who researched it and made it, Grant Saluka and me. And I thought, okay, so at least there's, and some other people talk about if you go to genealogy and other kind of things, you hear about it, were not so in depth. And I was okay, so it's true. Now, so that's where it came. So that's where it comes from, and why it is true scientifically. What do they do? And then let's make it extremely simple that everybody understands it. Where do you feel fear?
Mm.
In your gut.
Yes, right.
That's your gut. Where it for where's your chi point? Where's your energy point, Valerie? Also there. So your gut originated 500 million years ago is the place that keeps us alive and likes us to survive. And that's where the energy is coming from. And it has only one objective, eh, actually to keep us alive. And from keeping us alive, it means I have to eat, I have to reproduce, and sometimes I have to fight and flight away to keep myself alive for predators or if I like to eat something. Three basic functions. And every animal or living creature in the world has this, because every living creature has actually a digestive system. There is no living creature in this world without a digestive system. But every sponge or other kind of animals can live without a heart or a head. If you think about the sea cucumber, it doesn't have a heart, it doesn't have a head, but it can survive. A worm, what you can find in the soil, the
Right.
same. And so we can. Now, the heart came in when we became social animals. Because when we were born, uh, a zebra can walk within half an hour and can run away from a tiger. Um, Valerie, how much minutes did it take you to run away from, say, your nasty neighbor boyfriend?
Right.
Yeah, we are totally helpless when we are born. And
Yes.
Gabor Mate writes the same. Gabor Mate says also the most important thing for us as human being is bonding. Without bonding, we don't live. And that's the heart brain comes in. The heart brain is also the only part besides the amygdala that can release oxytocin, the love hormone. The gut does not have love hormone. The gut doesn't have oxytocin. The heart and the head has it. The gut has cortisol to put action in there. That's why we have a heart. So the heart is all about bonding and caring. Where do you feel rejection? Eh? Where do you
Mm.
feel a broken heart?
Yeah. Right. The name
Yeah,
says it. Yeah.
the line says that's the reason of the
Mm.
heart. So it's all about bonding. Now, why do we have this beautiful thing on top of our throat? Actually, to think about tomorrow and to think about yesterday. The only difference this one has with this one, so you would say, with your head, with your heart and gut, is this one can think about time. It knows tomorrow, it knows yesterday. And why do we have a big brain? Why does it take 20% of our energy? Why do we have so few memories? What's the use of a memory? To predict the future better. That's why we have the big brain. It helps us also to survive. So this one has actually one objective, and we spoke about it before when I said a little bit perfectionism. Your head wants to give the perfect answer because in a good prediction for the future, you have more success. So our head sometimes brings us to perfectionism, to the sleepless nights from what should I wear tomorrow? What should I say tomorrow to my boss? What should I put in my presentation? And that one keeps you awake because it wants to give the perfect answer. So those are the three things it has to make the extreme simple. There's a bit more, but this is the simple one. Logic, bonding, survival. Now, and if you now think why we have issues in your life, and I just keep on talking to you, say, what, Chris? Because all three of them, if you're here now, like to do the best for us with logic, with bonding, or with survival means, fight and flight. Now, those three are not the same. So now just imagine, Valerie, yeah? One of your friends asks, I've got a new boyfriend. What should I do? And you just say, just follow your heart. And actually say to your girlfriend, just follow your heart, bonding. Don't take care of yourself what your gut brain does. Don't think about logic. If you would say to your girlfriend, what does your gut say? And she says, I don't know, it doesn't feel good. Then they give totally different thing because then actually she thinks about what is in it for me? How safe is it for me? What is my benefit of the relationship? If you ask, is it logical? And said, no, yeah, actually, I'm living in the States. He is living in Australia. He already has 2 divorces, 3 kids, is jobless. No, that doesn't make sense. Then the head brain steps in. So even if we say those things, what does your logic say? What does your heart say? What does your gut say? You get totally different answers. And what do we do as humans? Me the first, I would say right away. Most of us follow one brain in our life, maybe two. That's the whole story, Valerie.
Wow. I have lots of questions. Yeah. Of course, I had an idea already because I've read your materials. The question that comes to mind, I guess, is what is beyond all that? When I listen to you explaining the different kinds of brains, I think about survival. In all of them,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
have this
yeah,
component quality of
yeah,
survival, somehow as a separate self, as a separate
yeah,
entity from life itself. It's almost like a finger trying to
yeah,
survive,
yeah,
make it to be healthy without
yeah,
the rest of the body. It's just
yeah,
not possible. So that's what it feels to me. But that's because I come from a spiritual understanding that there's just one reality and one body, and we are everything else, all that we see and experience, it's part of that body, of that system.
yeah,
So everything is connected. So I was very interested in the last part of your book. Of course, that at the end of the book, you have a chapter that talks about other methods of communication, light and energy. That caught my attention immediately because relates to
makes,
spirituality. Yes.
makes sense.
So talk to me for a moment about that. Have you actually, I know it's outside of your
Yeah.
main work, but do you have conversations about that too? What are other kinds of realities besides the brain, the heart, and the gut are
Uh,
there?
there is, like, as I told you before, I'm also a Reiki master.
Ah,
Yeah. So in my book, I make it say physical down to earth. Why is that? Because that's what most people accept. And so the moment I talk about spirituality, I talk about your energy systems and how we connect it, and people say, "Oh, wow, this is probably one of those floating guys with his purple shirt. We just wait for his with his chain of little shelves around his neck, because before you know it, you get somewhere put in a little corner of not serious anymore." But there are two ways
true.
to think. I know based on my experiences that we all are connected by the universal energy. Uh, it, 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 uh, it's very easy also if people have like, how do you moon Chris? They're totally scientifically captured and say, okay, just put your hand 5 centimeters from my hand. What do you feel? And based on a Reiki master, they will say, yeah, I feel warmth, but I feel also something else. It's almost like I feel energy. I say, what?
Yeah.
You feel energy?
Yes.
And the moment they say this, like, what did I say now?
Yeah.
Because we can feel energy. Sometimes do an exercise with, say, with the really I'm not believers executives. And that's not because they don't want to believe, but in their whole world, it's about profit, loss, success, achieving. They followed their MBA, they followed Harvard, MIT, whatever. And there's no spirituality in that. There's no spirituality in a profit and loss account. So you can see those executives all around the 50s, and they're all somewhere like, okay, well, we've done it. And I say, okay, I say, just now imagine, stand next to each other and stand on the left side of the person and now walk behind him or her to the other side and stand to the right side of him or her. What side do you prefer? 95%, 95% will have a preference.
Right.
And I say, where's the preference based on? And all of them said, I don't know, it just feels better. And I say, it feels better. Where's that logical part of you now? And they feel safe, they feel safer, more connected, more open, are more willing to share. And that's energy. If you know it, it's all about energy systems. In constellations, what I also followed, it has a reasoning actually behind it. And we are all there. So why I put it only in the end of a book in the research, because for you and for me, and I will say this, the nerdy of science, love to see that in my say in my advanced training and other things. I always talk about that because it is true. When you talk about mirror neurons, when you talk about rapport and NLP, it's all about the non-tangible things about how it's there. And I always ask people, did it ever happen to you? A closed question, negative. I said, that you entered a room, say, where a party was going on, or a team building, or a meeting was going on. You stepped in the room and thought, hey, something happened here. They had a discussion or a fight or something like you felt the atmosphere. And everybody says, yes, I had that sometimes. I said, how did you notice that? Did somebody stand up and said, oh, we just had a fight, by the way, Peter, so that's what, so you know it? I said, no, no, no. I said, I just feel it like you sense it. Where do you sense that with?
Mm.
Where's your sensory system then? Because we have 6 sensory systems, say, yeah, smell, taste, hearing, sight. It's none of those. And then it's all about energy and about the spiritual world, how it is. And in that moment, there's like, yeah, the spiritual world is maybe a little bit too much, Chris, but I can imagine there's maybe a little bit more. So we all know it and we all experience it. But just because, as I said, the head brain likes to predict, likes to know, likes to know. Now, these are all things we actually don't know. Even if Lynn McTaggart wrote the book, The Intention Experiment and The Bond and The Power of Eight, and it's all researched that it happens, but nobody had a scientifically explanation why it happens. So this one doesn't have an answer. So what does this one do if there is no answer? It just pushes it away from, okay, I don't believe it. I just delete it because I don't have an answer. It just makes me uncertain. So it's a whole natural process of all humans to put it somewhere aside because it helps your survival mechanisms.
True.
So a long answer again, but to put the surroundings there. Why I'm to your thing, yes, I'm a believer. Of course, and
Yes, right. And it's not really a belief system, right, Christopher, when we
mm,
think about it. It's just like you said, it's a feeling. We know we are not really making those choices. We
mm,
don't know how we are making these
yes,
choices we make, but they are being made
yeah,
anyway. So it's really a matter of observation. It's an experience. It's like we're able to
yeah,
actually see everything
mm,
happening, but it's not really, there's not a fixed me here doing
yeah,
these things. So, but you're right. For some reason, we have become very, um, let's say, scientific based in our living with
yeah,
technology and everything else. So it's really not. I think it's becoming better. We are moving more towards
yeah,
spirituality somehow, in understanding, viewing life
yeah,
from that
yeah.
perspective. But it's still, I think it's we're taking baby steps, aren't we?
But yes, yeah, but the funny part is what I like. People know that if you have your phone and you put your phone next to your bed, it will affect you. This energy. And then if we talk about energy, spiritual world, they'll say, oh, no, no, that doesn't happen. I think,
Yeah,
okay, so your
right.
phone can influence you just sleeping next to it. But
But about everything else, yeah.
yeah, and then it says, yeah, Chris, but I don't know how it works. Most people don't know the Earth, and for people who love music, probably it has the Earth as a total has a vibration of 7.83 hertz or 5.3. I always mess it as dyslexic. I put the numbers sometimes wrong. We humans have the same, and that's why we love, say, the brainwave music. We all are in and when people are actually not feeling good, and you would do an energy scan on them, say music wise, what is their hertz, you will come aware they're actually out of tune. So
Yeah.
energy wise, they're out of tune. And when you talk about chakras, it means your chakras are not aligned. And it means actually you send out different energy. So you're not in that 7.83, 5.38, or whatever kind of hertz system anymore. You're playing out of tune. The moment you can change your tone of voice, and again, body wise, spiritual wise, you feel better. It is scientifically proven. It's not me saying that, it's scientifically proven and tested on people. Just like you can play the music. So it is. Why I don't talk about it? Because you right away are put in a system from in a separate book. And most businesses will not start believing you anymore. They go, this is really a bit too crazy. This is too strange. I going to help my leadership team talking about energy systems, Chris. No, we just found somebody else.
Yes.
But having said that, if people come to me as a therapist or a coach, they love it because they find extremely quick solutions.
Right, right. Because you are in touch with all these
Yeah, yeah,
aspects, right?
yeah,
The relative reality, the absolute
yeah,
reality,
yeah,
spirituality, and science. And that's really where I think we are heading to, hopefully soon, like this,
yeah,
bringing together science and
yeah,
spirituality, not as separate things, but the science of spirituality. I
yeah,
imagine,
yeah.
that they can come together. You said something in your bio says Christopher's ultimate aim is to contribute to creating a more heart brain based society. So, how do you envision that? What would that look like?
Um, uh, if I would make it say a binary 0 1 comparison, now we live in a massive gut brain society still. Eh? It's me, myself, and I. We win or lose. Eh? Now, a lot of leaders or dictators, even if they're democratically chosen, talk about winning and losing, me first, you last. MBAs still, schools still say, are you not summa cum laude? Okay, they are not good enough. And so it's still a winning or losing society.
Mm,
That's a gut brain society. That's extremely primitive, when we just discussed. It's the basic primitive system. It's almost like we become, say, sea cucumbers again. We have the same habits as a sea cucumber to make this extremely. Heart brain society is where we as mankind survive as a society, all of us. And we can still have leaders and followers because even zebras have leaders, but this less in the hierarchy way is not that people have $200 billion dollars as one person and the other person has $1 a day. It becomes a little bit less in that part because you don't get happy with 200 billion euros. You have massive amount of guards around you. You never sleep by yourself. But it is somewhere there. So in heart-brain society is actually where we all succeed, all achieve, all have happiness, all have health, all have, and it can happen. Eh? We have enough resources on this earth to create that,
yes.
and we still can all then watch, and we can all watch still then the television, all that kind of stuff. So, and in companies, it means that we go from the short term to the long term. If you make it again scientifically business-wide proven, profit and loss, what business is like, the book From Good to Great from the Gallup organization, almost 20 years old now, writes about servant leadership. And that servant leadership outperforms on the stock exchange on profit and loss every other company. So long term, they win. Only when you have quarterly results like in the States, yeah, that's not appreciated. You have to win every 3 months. And every 3 months winning inhibits a gut brain society. If you didn't perform, Valerie, you're out. Instead of saying, Valerie, you're just new in a job, we're going to help you that next year and the next 10 years, actually, you're totally happy here and you succeed and you
Mm,
contribute and we all survive and we all have a good time. That's a totally different scope. And that's a heart-brain society. So it's not soft or mellow or that we all are making senses and sitting around the campfire singing whoom, 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 whoom. It means actually that we all care for ourselves and for the others.
yeah. Uh, a billion yes to that. Yeah. To that vision. Yes. It's one that it has always naturally made sense to me. I was inclined to do
Mm,
things that was good for me, good for
uh,
others. But of course, it's my next question to you, the next topic which caught my attention, your book, Relationships, Which Brain is Talking.
yeah.
Very interesting insights into trauma. So talk to me about what happens when we are dealing with a traumatized gut brain, traumatized heart brain, and traumatized head brain.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Trauma is a beautiful word. Eh? And if you now look in American society, almost everybody's traumatized. Oh, my Porsche I ordered is not yellow, but a little bit orange. I'm traumatized. What? You ordered the Porsche, it's the wrong color, you're traumatized? Now to make it joke. No. So um, when people have highly impactful events, emotional or physical, only 15% gets a post-traumatic stress syndrome. 70% goes on with their life. 15% also have a post-traumatic growth. They become better humans of it. So trauma by itself is actually 1 out of 7 of people who have a really highly impactful or emotional experience. And then we talk about war, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, and all this kind of horrible crap. Now, what I mean is when you're traumatized, it happens in many things. If your parents are drug addicts, and even though they have the best intentions based on the fact that they're drug addicts, they cannot take care of you, or you're born, say, not like me in the Netherlands, but somewhere in a third world country, then they have totally different experience. So what does a traumatized gut brain means? It means somewhere you learned the hard way that the world is not safe, that you cannot trust what's happening around you. So it creates a trust system. But okay, this will create say less survival means. Uh,
Mm.
Heart brain trauma is actually more relationship trauma, and it can be a loss of a loved one, and it can be from a divorce to death to whatever kind of horrible things. And the loved one is not only your partner; it can be your kids, your parents, your nephew, your neighbor, where you really have a huge heart connection with. And what is then traumatizing about it, that you cannot deal, say, with the loss based on how it happened, based that you miss him too much, based that there's maybe codependency, or really say almost when we talked about a spiritual love, the karmic relationship that is somewhere cut down. Um, Head brain trauma is more a logical trauma, and the head brain doesn't have many traumas, only it relives the trauma and makes us stories about it.
Mm. Yeah.
So the head brain is actually always in connection with the heart and the gut when we talk about trauma. Why it is so beautiful and not so beautiful trauma? As I said, 1 out of 7 gets traumatized from an event. 1 out of 7 gets better person out of it, and 7 out of 10 has something like, life goes on as it goes on. Um, so there is a chance to change that. But also when we are in relationships, and we are always in relationships, if now is your partner, with your family, or with your colleagues, there's all different kind of relationship in relationships. When people are, say, traumatized, it means their operandus mundi is coming from one brain. And when the gut brain is traumatized, it means it's always alert because it doesn't trust anymore. It is something like walking in a war zone. So
Yeah.
that means that in every connection, he or she will be more in a fighting or running away state. So it's hard to have a relationship with that. If the heart brain is, say, traumatized, it means most times it's closed off. So they, they don't connect with you anymore. They don't open up. They don't really connect. They don't really give themselves anymore because eh, before you know, you get hurt again. And it happens when you have, say, you had 2 relationships, twice your partner, you found twice your partner with somebody else in bed. You have sort of like, I don't trust, in my case, females anymore, in your case, male anymore.
Yeah.
So the next person you see, even though you think this is the person of my life, you think, I'm not going to open, I give my heart away. I give my heart away again. Before you know, he or she steps again in it. That's that trauma. Now, the beauty is we can heal it. The pity is if people have it, it means they walk on one brain. So all the decisions are almost like a post-traumatic stress syndrome. And although post-traumatic stress syndrome is a psychological term based in DSM about war traumas, many people walk with an almost tiny post-traumatic stress syndrome in the fact that they walk on one brain or live from one brain. And so that's a different kind of definition. And it
Right.
is so pity because in a relationship we have, especially with the close ones around us, it can be extremely detrimental. What happens when I write in my book, most gut brain dominant persons are just like, say, the sea cucumbers think about themselves. So if I think about myself, then my partner is the best if she thinks about me. Because that makes them to think about me. That's it. That's perfect. So you see a lot of gut brain people love heart brain people because they have somebody who also takes care about them. But for the heart brain person, they love to take care, they love to bond. And heart brain dominant person sometimes likes to help people even if it's against their own detriment. How many women don't go for the bad boy? And at the end, they get burned. domestic violence, or even worse, because they cannot escape anymore. And so it is an extremely toxic dance to have. That's why I
Mm.
wrote the book already about the personal life sphere. From hey, be aware what's happening with you, what's happening with the other, and how can you connect it. And that's why I say I think the little sentence: if you find a really gut brain dominant person, and there's only one advice I can give you: run, run, Forrest, run, like in the movie from Forrest Gump.
Yeah, yeah.
Because at the end, otherwise, you as a sweet person gets burned. So, that's the whole story say, in different kind of context for what happens.
Yes, that caught my attention because I love this. Let's say this other connection between healing and
Yeah,
spirituality, or healing in this
yeah, mm,
broad view, big
yeah,
picture of life. Yes, see,
yeah,
and I guess, Christopher, when we come to see that we have healed enough from those traumas in those different
yeah,
kinds
yeah,
of aspects in our being, then it feels to me like the first thing to do is to try to help others in a bigger ways. What are you doing? What I'm doing? So many people that I talk about. So that's what it comes, like, how can I help? That's, to me, it was just passing on these messages.
yeah.
How
Uh,
can I can help people heal, to find resources on how to
yeah.
heal?
No, but that's when I started my story. Eh? Most of us, like Jung said, are wounded healers. We
Yeah,
have a big heart, so we like to help others.
yeah.
There's a moment we feel ourselves better. We know what kind of pain we went through, so we like to help others. So that's a heart brain thing. That is healthy or not healthy. I always say the healthiest part is, and you talk about spirituality, if all the chakras are aligned, or in mind burst, all your three brains are aligned, because then your energy can flow. You can say, hey, I'm going to help the other, still take care of myself, and do it in a way that actually is logical. Now, if that happens, nobody gets burned. I see so many. I
Yeah.
still remember I went for the first psychology conference. There were 100 psychologists sitting, and I'm sitting there, and as you can see me, I'm a happy guy.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there, and I see all those psychologists sitting like this, with their face like, and I'm looking around to think, what's happening here? And on one moment, and in front of is a really a high-speed professor came over from the States, and he's a psychologist, hypnotherapist, psychotherapist, and I said, "Dear, now, X," I said, "I have a question." I said, "It's not about the course." I said, "But in general," I said, "I see all around here we're helpers, but if I look around, I see almost sitting with a face like they're
Mm,
traumatized. I don't see any smile. I don't see happiness. I see sadness, depression around me. What's happening here?"
yes. Yeah. True.
And he looks at me and said, "Chris, somewhere you're immune for that, partly, partly." I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you see through me." He says, this happens when we don't take care of ourselves enough. Most of us are helpers. And we forget that if we help somebody else, the first thing we have to help is ourselves. What you see around here are amazing, beautiful people who forgot just one thing: enough is enough. And that's some of that balance, eh? that, that, that you, me, and have to be aware of. And sometimes, if you go back to Garmate, when the body says no, if we don't say no, our body will say no, our spirit will say no, and say, if you don't learn in this life, then maybe I take your life away. So then in your next life and in your afterlife, you can learn the lessons you have to learn. And when you come back, maybe you implement them.
Yeah, maybe. Yes. Doesn't seem so too hopeful. Wow.
I said I'm an optimist, Valerie.
Yeah. Right, right. That's better. Yeah, I like that way better. Although I have to think about it in every way. Wow, that is so, so true. That's why I have a video actually on my website about self-love. That was the first step for me, like, to get out of that. I mean, of my traumatized. I don't know if it was the heart or the gut, but it was the heart, probably, I
Mm,
would say. And then living out of that
yeah,
realm was self love. Like, how can I
yeah,
embrace myself? This, and it's still not an easy one. It's an interesting dance because then you always trying to find that win-win situation within everything, and my own personal relationships, my family, and everybody else, and the this war between Ukraine and Russia.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
how do we think win-win?
yeah,
With
yeah.
the heart when it comes to that. It's a fascinating dance, really, isn't it, Christopher?
Yeah,
This life. Mm.
it is life, and I would say I don't say it's easier because we just discussed it. They're like, okay, hey, wow, now we understand. It's easy. No, it's not easy. If it was easy, I would not have had the burnout and all those kind of other things. So I'm the first one to say, from it's not easy, but it doesn't mean we have to stop it. Buddha said 3 years in his place or sitting before he found enlightenment. Edgar Tolle was 3 years sitting on the bench before he found his peace. We are in a society where if your WhatsApp response is longer, you have to wait on your WhatsApp response longer than 5 seconds. It's like, what the hell is happening? If your computer doesn't start up in 10 seconds, you get annoyed. We live in a society where quick fixes, no patience, rapidness is there.
Yeah.
So why should we learn everything when we are 20? And when we believe in a spiritual world, we have eternity. And so, and all the spiritual leaders say, we're on a journey, and it is being on the journey and learning instead of, okay, I have to get the objective, because we are so focused on the objective that we forget the path. And as long as you're on a journey, Valeria and Christoffel and everybody else, we are doing good.
Yeah. Yeah. Focus on the journey, on what is
Yeah,
here present,
yeah,
right,
yeah,
Christopher?
yeah. And in that part, if you make one step, celebrate the step you made. Don't say, oh yeah, but I'm still not there, because then it's not happening. It's so motivational also for your self-esteem. For, hey, I did that step. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. You see, we need to be kind of work more on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. The recognition that we are all actually doing the best we can. I have
Yeah.
heard that before, beautifully said by somebody that I interviewed. We are doing the best that we can with what we have. That's
Yes.
true. And when I think about traumas and all that too, um, I don't think we are responsible for the collective trauma and ancestral trauma and all the societal traumas
Mm.
that we go through. So we are not individually responsible for them, but we can do something about it. And that's why I love healers. I love therapists like you. You know, they call change agents. They're just incredibly inspiring. So thank you for being one of them as well in
Yeah.
this reality.
But you're right. And what you said is extremely important, Valerie. And I hope that everybody gets it in their system. It's not your fault. If you ever saw the movie Good Will Hunting,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful scene where he gets embraced, and the therapist says 4 times in his ear, "It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not your fault." And the moment he releases that, the whole trauma almost falls off his shoulders. Eh? We're not responsible for the. Yeah, of course, I'm responsible for picking up my phone. I know that, but I'm not responsible that I got traumatized. Because with my coping mechanisms, this was the best choice I can make. Eh? Because you said it so beautifully in the beginning. Every cell in our body likes to live.
Yes.
Every cell in our body makes the best decision with the resources it has.
Mm,
It doesn't mean the outcome is always perfect,
right.
but you only know that when you made that step. So it's so easy to judge with the knowledge of the future, the past. But in the current moment, we always make the best decision we can. So in that part,
It's very freeing, isn't it? I
yeah,
titled this platform "The Freedom to
yeah,
Feel" for a
yeah,
reason. There's the
yeah,
freedom to just be, to
yeah,
just kind of happen and unfold,
yeah,
and kind of be celebrate that. It's a celebration, isn't it? The unfolding of how we
yeah,
choose to be in this moment. There's something else that caught my attention. That is the three brains preference assessment. You have
yes,
this is mentioned in your book, and
yeah,
you do have the link on your website, with the threebrainsacademy.com
yeah,
slash three brains preference test. I'll
yeah,
have that link on the
yeah,
podcast profile too. So I love that assessment test. I did it. I usually don't, for some reason, I don't take too many quizzes, because
makes sense.
I don't seem to fit anywhere a lot of times, and but I do some yours for some reason. that was inspired to take it. And then I see that the head brain dominance or preference is 43, the results that you gave me.
Yeah,
And then the heart brain dominance is 49. And then the gut brain dominance was 13.
yeah. I saw your score, Valeria, and I had a
You
big
did?
smile. Yes, because I see, and I had a big smile. And
Yeah.
based on your story you just shared, makes sense. Eh? Your heart brain, as you said, you like to help.
Yes.
That's a heart brain question. Your head brain thinks about all the things. Hence, when we spoke about a little bit about perfectionism, your gut brain is about your self care.
Yes. Ah, that makes sense. Heart brain self care.
Yeah. So it does not mean always say, van okay, uh, um, it's a statistical thing. So 49% means in 49 of the cases you choose this. It means it's the most strongest dominator. It's the loudest voice. You have a lesser loud voice. You have almost a silent voice.
Yeah.
So all the voices are there. Only one is really in the background in the corner of your house. So if you really like to listen to your gut brain, you have to go to that corner. As long as you sit here, you hear your heart brain talking. And if you go there and you feel your head brain talking,
Yeah.
but because it's still somewhere really close to each other, but really to listen to your gut, you have to go somewhere else. So it could even happen with this score. I don't say it will happen, that you almost never listen to the small voice because it takes so much time. You're already there. Because if you have a big heart brain score, most decisions are also taken quick.
Yes.
The
Ah,
head brain likes to think it over. So if you make your decisions quick, it's too late for the gut brain to step in. And also the other way around. Eh? If people have a high head brain scores as first dominance, then say heart brain, they have more chance to listen to all three of them. Doesn't mean they act on it, because head brain people think it through. They are not spontaneous. If you ask a dominance in head brain, hey, shall we go out now? They say, now?
oh, yeah.
Uh, uh, now? Why? Why? Where? How? All kind of logical questions about how it works. A heart brain person, so we go out now for a drink? Oh yes, let's go out for a drink. And the gut brain patient says, no, no, I'm still making my proposal. You go. I will find you later. Or says, yes, but I choose the place. Eh, So it is how loud is the voice in there? And there is, as probably you had the response based on your score, you have a beautiful score.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful score. And you don't have to change the score. Now you know it. You just think, okay, there is a soft voice somewhere in the corner, and I have to put effort in it to start listening to it. And the moment you start listening to it, and I talk about three brains, actually, you can also say there are three wisdom centers. And would it be wise to listen to three wisdom centers you have or only to one?
Right. Ah, interesting. Yes. The more wisdom, the better. Actually, I love the idea of wisdom.
Yeah, they're actually, I call them brains physically, but there are wisdom centers.
Yeah.
And if you have three wisdom centers, I think everybody could agree with me. Okay, it's wiser to listen to all three of them than just follow one blindly.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense to me. So, but the brain dominance is a bit, it's almost close to the heart brain dominance 43, 49, right? It's pretty,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's close. I always say it's never like it is a short test that gives them preference. It's not
yes.
this is who you are.
Right.
And you made it on one day, maybe on a Monday morning where you just had 4 hours of sleep. Uh, your coffee machine was broken. You didn't have your green tea. I think I'm going to fill it out.
Yeah.
It could be totally different question after you just had a beautiful massage, a beautiful silent session and meditation, and a beautiful green tea with a little bit of honey in it. Then you could have even have a different kind of scoring. Not that your gut brain would right away be 49, but could change a little bit.
Right.
And so it has somewhere a flow. So also that's why I don't give a percentage. That's why I don't make it say more scientifically from okay, this is the percentage of no, this is this is a preference. This is the loudest voice.
Preference. Yeah.
Yeah. And probably if you're in an other role, you could be more head brain. And if you're in a good way, if you're with your family, maybe you're more heart brain. The moment you're in your work, you may be you're more head brain. And maybe when you do your Tai Chi lessons, you're more gut brain.
Hmm. Yes. I love that. You see, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Mm,
It's kind of adjusting, adapting to
yeah,
different
yeah,
situations with the energies
yeah,
and whatever
yeah,
the information that we
yeah,
are in contact with.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. I will have that link here on the podcast profile. Gosh,
And
there's
it's so nice, it's so beautiful to see. But okay, now I understand it. Oh wow.
yeah, right. Because I had no idea about these things. That's another thing about that's beautiful about this experience, human experience, learning, isn't it, Christopher? Being open and curious about everything. Never really uh thinking that we know, especially the mind. I know
Mm,
everything.
yeah,
There's no such a thing here. There's always this curiosity about how the mind works, and
yeah,
although I do know the nature of the mind,
yeah,
of trying wanting to
yeah,
know everything, but there's something about uh knowing how it navigates this reality, how
yeah.
the unit body mind, how they interact. It's, I mean, this is a entertainment for a lifetime,
Yeah.
isn't it?
And it is. And I come always say in my scores, heart brain, gut brain, that they can be a little bit more protective or judgmental. Gut brain likes to be more protective, less open for learning because new things could be vulnerable. So I come aware sometimes that I think, and I really come aware of it, and okay, now you're critical on something, Chris. Why are you critical? Because it's not true, and you know it's for a fact it's not true, or you see it more as an other kind of opinion based on your opinion, based because it's an opposite opinion, you like to disconnect it. And the moment I think about it, I come aware, okay, sometimes it's because it's an opposite opinion
Yeah.
that I like to disregard it. And that moment I think, this is a trigger that I have to learn because my gut brain feels not pleasant because I think, oh, unknown territories. And the only way to learn is to step into your unknown territories.
Yeah.
So I come aware the moment I disregard something, I have some like, is it a fact or is it me? Now, if it's a fact, it's okay.
Yeah.
Red light, as a red light stays a red light. But if it's me, I think, okay, aha, you find your own block again, Chris. Your own
Yes.
safety is pulling you back from learning. Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
go there.
That sounds to me like very much that work of self-awareness, right, Christopher?
Yeah.
Just to be very uh in that space of
Mm,
awareness. So what I was trying to find, I guess, was uh the truth in the sense of what holds this relative reality together. What is life? What is to be? What is existence really? Those big questions I always
mm,
had.
mm,
And then now it what really has in a way established itself
yeah,
is that seeing this from a perspective of perfection
yeah,
already being what it complete whole, there's nothing
yeah,
missing.
yeah.
Now
Uh,
to play with what is missing, to what is
yeah,
broken and
yeah.
unhealed.
But it is interesting. I have the same kind of questions, and I like to give them an answer scientifically or just spiritually. And I say we're all energy. And what I know from my old studies, because I was a commercial engineer, energy likes to find balance,
Mm.
positive and negative to phase each other out. Black matter, white matter. So if we're all or energy, what we like to create when we talk about enlightenment is actually to create a balance in our energy system. So for me, our quest on life is actually to find, say, that enlightenment, that balance, to create actually almost all our chakras are totally aligned and beautifully that we can harmonize with the energy around us.
Yeah,
And
right.
and so we are human beings,
Yeah.
but we are still energy connections that do their best to find their balance somewhere in a human form. And for me, that is something like, okay, so that gives me also meaning what I do. Because I know if I do say, let's call it negative or hate, it creates actually negative energy. So I become farther away from, say, stabilizing the energy with the environment.
Mm.
So it helps me actually, okay, it's better to do, say, let's call it to do good, because it helps me to harmonize the energy for myself and for the future. So that's for me, yeah, it's not the meaning in life as Viktor Frankl says, because then it becomes more, but it gives me something like in a more spiritual world, okay, so as an energy system, we like to find, say, balance in our way. So what you said, how can I help you? how can we balance out, is somewhere then the way to go.
Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, I try to, I kind of use the word harmony these days more
Yeah,
than balance for some reason. It kind of changed, but it's the same thing,
it
isn't
is
it?
same. Yeah, it is. Say I'm not native English, so sometimes I use a word that's maybe
Yeah,
just 5% less than what I mean. But harmony sounds also really
yeah,
beautiful. Harmony is actually that
yeah.
everything plays together. I think maybe that's even. I think that's even. I think that's now you said it. I think, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's a more beautiful word, because if you are harmonized, it all plays together and it's better than balanced out. So
Yes, yeah.
may I adopt harmony, Valerie, from you?
Yes, there's something about that word, and to me, the meaning's really not really
Mm,
coming into harmony, but
mm,
recognizing that we are
mm,
already in
yeah,
harmony with that
yeah,
which is here, which is
mm,
absolute reality, whatever the
yeah,
foundation of this,
yeah,
of whatever this is.
yeah,
So it sounds very abstract a lot of times, but
yeah,
to me, it feels very experiential,
yeah.
very real. So we are almost at the end, Christoph,
Yes.
from this beautiful conversation. And I want to mention something else that I found in your book. Yeah, there was the 7 essential steps to really connect it with the other person. I love that part in your book.
Mm,
So you have all these steps there. Um, and interestingly enough, the first step is to get aligned within yourself. So that harmony again coming, right?
yeah.
That caught my attention too. So talk to me for a moment about that before we say goodbye for today. I do have more questions for you.
No, but it is a 7 steps. Maybe it's magical number seven. That was not the objective. I was just wording and it became seven.
Yeah, yeah,
But it makes so much sense. Eh? Um, um, it's a we receive the but actually when you talk about energy, a reaction is minus reaction in physics. So the moment I'm harmonized, I'm open for what's happening towards me, and I can sense what's really happening there. I allow my mirror neurons, my sensory systems of my heart, my gut to actually really receive what's happening there. And from there, I can make a better response. Having said, it's the hardest thing to do if somebody says, "Hey, I don't like you," and then say, "Okay, let's first go into state."
yes, yes.
Eh? So, but doing your best to be that more during the day, yeah, you can call it mindfulness, it helps to be there. It can be by breathing or walking, but it's the most essential step to do there.
Yes, see
In the
that.
Chen Chao also said, know yourself. But this, right, I say it's the hardest step, because if something comes out of the left field, comes out of the blue, you don't have time to really jump yourself. That is practice. But you see in the other steps also from, okay, and if that's happening, then really come where it's happening. Uh, Repeat back to yourself what the person said or what the person did. Live it by yourself, actually in a way. Step in his or her shoes to come aware what could be his or her intention actually. Instead of judging it, start
Mm,
actually when we talk about learning, start learning. Eh? Step in his or her shoes. Nonviolent communication, Marshall Rosenberg, what I once followed, always said the same. Eh? The moment somebody who did something extremely horrible steps in the shoes of the person where he did it to and really lives life through the eyes and feelings of that person, poof, falls everywhere and only asks for forgiveness. Because in that moment, they live what's happening. And that's also an extremely important step for yourself to come aware what's really the intention of the other person. Because coming back there, and I loved it from Marshall Rosenberg, who once said, there are only two things that people say: help me and thank you. Only in our communication way, we abbreviated that in, hey, you big F, what the hell are you doing? That's,
yes.
that is actually an help you question, only verbalized in a totally different way. So, but the moment you step in somebody's shoes, become aware that is that, because the gut brain wants to feel safe, so help me. The heart brain likes to have connection, so thank you, let's be together. Those two brains, that's their biggest intention. I like to feel safe, I like to feel connected. Only in our communication styles we all have as beautiful human beings with all this knowledge, it is so hard sometimes to decipher that. So in those 7 steps, it's also step into the other person's shoes and come aware, hey, it's actually his heart or gut brain talking. And then life becomes much easier, much easier.
Wow, that Yeah, that makes so much sense. I love that. I never heard about that way before. Yeah, help me and thank you. That really, you just stopped me here with that.
Oh wow!
That's
Yes, I stopped Valerie.
yeah,
Is
you
it?
did. I'm like, what do I? There's nothing. That's it. Yeah, that makes so much sense. What else can the brain do? Nothing. Just
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
become silent, right?
Yes.
So at the end of our conversation, I want to ask you the question about freedom, the open question about
Uh,
freedom, and then I'll ask you. Actually,
uh,
I have two questions and then the ending technical
yeah.
question. So, how do you define freedom these days? What is to be free? What gives you that sense of freedom?
Um, I said I'm first going to say my dad always reminded me of the song of Janis Joplin. Freedom is an other word for nothing left to lose.
Yeah.
And I learned that almost my whole youth. So it's somewhere that right away that is the first thing that pops up. But if you think about the sentence, freedom is actually that you feel safe, whatever safe means, and you feel connected. Yeah, because if you nothing have left to lose, actually you feel safe because you don't care anymore. The only thing she did know, but Janis Joplin was not the most happiest woman in the world. Hence, she also died when she was 27. Uh,
Yeah.
but the heart brain connection was there. So freedom is, I feel safe. I can do my things, whatever that is. I feel connected. And that's for me freedom.
Wow.
Yeah, because the moment is there. And Nelson Mandela said it. The only thing they cannot take away is your own mind and your own things. And Viktor Frankl also said the same. Freedom is in yourself. And if you ever read the book, maybe probably you did from Viktor
Yeah.
Frankl,
Yes.
he always said, yeah, he said in the prison camps you saw actually the good and the bad side of people, but you saw that the only thing they could not take away was actually yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Your perception of that,
Yeah,
right? The meaning we can make out
yeah,
of experience for
yeah,
sure. Yeah. Wow. Beautifully said. I love that safety and connection. And then, of course, making
yeah,
meaning
yeah,
out of
yeah,
those. And another question, the last question
yeah.
is what three experiences you wish everyone to have before they die, before they lose the body?
Uh, uh, okay, it sounds much real love. Really feel real love. Really feel appreciated and connected. And in that way, when they breathe away, that they know also they touched somebody else or multiple hearts of other people. So they gave in that part a meaning to their life.
Yeah. Hmm.
And that they really feel, okay, I meant something for else. Because then you can, my granddad always said it, he said, if I close my eyes, if now I go to bed or I go now my last time, I know I did the best I could at least for there. And that's and I always thought he died when I was 18. I thought, okay, okay, granddad, that's nice, boy. You're 18, it's really. So
Yeah.
I was a little bit in that part on that moment. But
Yeah.
the more I thought about it, it's so true. I think because in that moment, because he touched me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have talked about him here now. And based that he touched me, actually he could leave this world also in a much better way because he meant something to more people in this world in a positive way.
Yes.
And then we talked about the energy and about enlightenment. So his energy was also more at ease. Maybe you know it. People sometimes die in total at easeness, and some people die a little bit more crampy. And if you die totally at peace in that part, it is somewhere that you did some you can feel peace with that. So I that's what I wish for everybody. That they can just say, okay, it's there.
Yeah. Wow. What's not to love about that? I usually use that phrase. Because yeah, it brings everything together in the sense of universal wisdom, personal wisdom,
Yeah,
and so many different kinds of intelligence we
yeah,
have access to. We
yeah,
could, if we are open to and
yeah.
curious about these things. Thank you so much, Gustavo, for being you and for doing what you do. Thank you.
Uh, thank you so much for being on this on your beautiful show and having this beautiful conversation with you. And for you and for everybody else, I wish that you keep on doing your amazing work because based on what you do, you inspire so many people. And for everybody who listened, um, please help us all make this world a better place.
Yes.
As they say in happiness, positive emotion, engagement, relationships, meaning in life, and engagement. PERMA. That's what they say about if you like to have a flourishing life.
Yes.
It doesn't talk about money. It doesn't talk about a beautiful car. But because that, of course, is nice to have. Bring it to each other.
Yes, 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 yes. You always you see go back to love again, unconditional love, love, this
Yeah,
feeling like safety. I mean, everything is just that's exactly what we are here to
yeah,
experience in order to enjoy the human
yeah,
experience as a whole, right,
yeah.
Christoph? So thank you. And before we say goodbye for today, where's the best place to find more information about you? I know I have the website. Is there
Yeah.
any other places to find you?
And I would say the website is the easiest. Of course, you can type in Christoffel Snijders if you can pronounce it correctly, and
Yeah.
then you find my Facebook or LinkedIn, or I will have soon enough. I will have also my personal website, Christoffel Snijders. That makes life easier. Three Brains Intelligence. It is rebranded from Academy to Intelligence, which actually talk about Three Brains Intelligence. There you find everything. And I always say, if people like to know more, the cheapest option for only 3 coffee at least in the Netherlands, you
Yeah.
can buy this book and you read so much about it. And if you cannot afford 3 coffees to make your own life better, then wow, you really have to see a therapist.
Yeah, another option. There's always an option.
Yeah, that's a joke. But so there is no reason for us in the Western world
Yeah.
not to make your own life better.
Yes, beautiful message.
Yeah,
Yes. I'll have the website
uh,
link, and I also have the book link,
uh,
of course, on this podcast note.
thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much again. Thank you.